Hello, hello, Money Mobsters, episode 8 with Dougie. And we're going to start today's episode out with a quote that I wanted to share. It's not whether you're right or wrong, it's about how much you make when you're right and how much you lose when you're wrong. Dougie, do you know who that one's from?
I don't, but I mean that sounds
I'm
like
putting
a
you on the
Charlie
spot
Munger.
here.
That sounds like a Charlie Munger.
It's a George Soros.
George Soros. Okay.
Yeah, he was another guy who was big on concentration and waiting and really focusing on position sizing. So yeah, it's not about whether you're right or wrong. It's about how much you make when you're right, how much you lose when you're wrong. It's true. And Druckenmiller, he he would always compare it to baseball. He would talk about batting average versus slugging percentage.
Yeah.
It's nice to have a good batting average and be right on all your picks, but how much they go up. It's that's your slugging percentage, how many bases you're getting out of it. That really matters a lot, and people who perform really well get that part of the equation right. So fun little quote there. Dougie, how was your week?
Man, it was a fast week. Did a whole bunch. OnlyFan. Spencer is our OnlyFan. Yeah, we did a whole bunch, but we also caught up on some TV shows. Watched the new. Oh man, that should be on the doc. Watched the new Matt Damon Ben Affleck movie.
Okay.
And built some rockets and basically just put the phone down and stop looking at the accounts all day every day.
Okay.
And did some work.
That's helpful sometimes, like just checking out a little bit and not being so attached to the price action. You sort of get to zoom out a little bit and take a deep breath.
Well, it just I was remembering last year, and it was kind of this time last year that we started going on a bit of a dump, and so I was just like, I'm gonna stop. I'm not gonna trade everything. I'm not gonna buy every 2% down day this time. Like if we get, if we're down, if the S&P is down 10%, then I'll be in the buying mood. But yeah, I'm not trying to buy every tiny little dip. But I bought one share of Intel, one share of Micron, just to follow those. Put those on my radar. Yeah. And then today happened, and my brother texted me. He's like, "What's going on with Venture Global?" I didn't even know. I didn't know that the taco happened and that everything flipped green. Like this morning, everything was red. It's like, well, another red day. Just put it down, do my work.
So I didn't find out what happened with VG until like Spencer in our like WhatsApp group chat and Matt were just like popping off talking about, and I think Ray put something in there. Why didn't you tell me about VG?
Yeah.
I started laughing at that. So VG had a 6 or 7% move today, and then after hours another 15%. I guess I'd have to check it again, but it seems like so they had a case that was in arbitration that is now out of arbitration, and apparently that's a positive development. Do you have more details than that? I don't follow this company that closely.
They won. They won. So they lost an arbitration case against, I think it was BP last year, and that kind of tanked the whole thing because basically what happened is Venture Global made some deals to that included the pricing in the deal, but before they kind of went live, right? So they had these deals lined up before they went live with their facility at these specific price points. But when they were getting close to go live, the contracts that they had were actually an unfavorable price point to what the current spread was. So VG started shipping early to other customers that they could get this better spread on. And then their existing customers came back and sued them and said, wait, we had a deal. You're supposed to be delivering that to us. Well, they lost the first one, and so that seemed like that was going to be a indicator that they were going to lose all these and have to fork over several $billions. But now that they've lost one and won one, I guess you could say, well, if they go 50-50 on all these deals, well, maybe they don't lose all of them and they can start collecting again. So holding that all the way down was tough, but I was buying the whole way down.
They're at 1040 after hours, which is right about here where you see my mouse is at. I mean, that's a jump, man. Shout out to anyone who was buying this dip under 7.
Yep, that was me.
There you go.
Every day. I got my share count from like 4,000 to just under 10,000.
Now, when you've got a stock that's like $10 a share like that, doesn't it make you sound rich when you're like, I have thousands and thousands of shares?
Yeah, it does. It makes you feel good. Now, when it goes to 100, it may feel even better. And that company's awesome. Profitable and pays a dividend already. I love it.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I have some friends that have some, you included, and I hope everyone does really well on it. I know some retirees in my life who have this in their portfolio as like a good long-term, almost like energy hedge. So I think everything that I've seen on it has been really, really solid. And if I was more interested in energy, like maybe I would do more research on it. I have a hard time doing lots of research on something that I'm not super interested in, like energy, because I don't know. It's just not.
That's why I was saying we got to get you out to some of these facilities. You got to come visit the facility. You'll get interested real quick if you see how large one of these terminals is.
Did you know I already own a cowboy hat? I'm down to come to Texas.
I don't own a cowboy hat. I would not be buying
It's not a real cowboy hat. It's like a Party City Halloween type cowboy hat.
Okay.
You know?
Okay.
Yeah. What did we have next? I think we wanted to just update everyone on the IRA and like 401k limits, because that's a super fun topic. But in honor of being good stewards of capital and just sharing what might seem like a layup, and sorry if this is repeat information, but the IRA contribution limit is $7,500 this year. So that is money that you can put into these accounts that when you hit retirement age, the year that you turn 59 and a half, you can take this money out. If you're doing a Roth, you put the money in after it's already been taxed, and then you get it out tax-free with the gains. Really, really powerful tool here.
It is so powerful.
Yeah, along with the 401k. Guys, if your company offers a match on your 401k and you're not taking it, reevaluate that decision. A 401k is one of the most powerful tools that the middle class has to accumulate assets.
Well, the Roth,
the
Roth IRA,
Roth IRA, and the 401k.
Because that's only available to the Roth IRA is only available to the middle class. Like it has income limits, which I do not qualify for currently.
And the 401k limit is 24,500. Did you want me to look up the phase out on the IRA?
Yeah. So there's also a catch up. So after you're 50, you can put in another $1,000 per year. Now you're older, so you won't be able to gain as much on that because you don't have as much time. But I will be, by the time I'm 52 or 53, I'll be able to start. I have interesting financial situation. Suffice to say, I make too much right now to contribute to a Roth. But in a few years,
my steak is too juicy.
Yeah. Oh no. Right. But it's temporary. It's only going to be for about the next maybe 6 years, and then I'll be back to like my regular salary, and so I'll be able to contribute to the Roth again then. But I've done it for years, and it's just so easy. Just take the Roth amount that, and whether what is it's 5,500, right?
For the Roth IRA,
For the
7,500.
Roth IRA, yeah. Oh, sorry, 7,500.
Yeah, they keep having to bump these limits up because the
They
M2
keep
money
inflating the
supply looks
currency.
like an Nvidia chart.
Yeah. But anyway, the thing to do there is, let's say if you get paid every Friday, that's 52 weeks a year. Just divide 7,500 by 52, comes out to $144.23, and make that a deposit that goes in every Friday. You can put it in Robinhood, and then you can chop it up. Like in a Robinhood account, you can say how much of that money you want to go to individual stock or fund or ETF, from that $144, and then you are literally DCAing on accident every week of the year.
Yeah, pay
And
yourselves
you can do
first,
that
guys.
for years without even having to think about it. And it's 144 a week. Like that's, I mean, I know 144 is a lot of money to a lot of people, but it's less than it used to be. It's still a couple of tanks of gas if you think about it. And once you get used to that money just being gone, like you don't even miss it. You don't even see it anymore. You don't even miss it.
Not at all. Yeah, I have my 401k limit set to 15%, which is basically like maintenance level for my lifestyle for what I spend. And I have a vacant rental house, so I'm burning $2,000 of cash a month on that, and I'm still able to do 15%. And I don't make a lot of money, so like this is very possible for regular people. Definitely recommend it. But obviously, if you're putting this money in these type of accounts, it's not liquid. So you're without special circumstances.
The Roth IRA is.
Yeah, well, so you can get your contribution back, but not your gains. And like 401k, there's some special rules, guys. I'm not a tax advisor. I'm not here to do a deep dive on that. But the way that I think about it is when I'm putting money into these types of accounts, that's for 60-year-old Austin. That's not to be touched. If I want it to grow and then use that money as a down payment, I'm not using an IRA. And I think next.
So there are exceptions. So this is worth noting. So the Roth IRA has exceptions. So you can take the money out, but you have to pay a 10% penalty plus the income tax on the gains, not on the base dispersal, but on the base because you already paid that. But you do have to pay a 10% penalty plus the tax on the gains, unless it is for a specific qualifying things like first-time home buyer, education, disability, or other medical expenses. You can tap your IRA, your Roth IRA, in any of those situations. And if you're young, we also should mention the health savings account.
HSAs, those are good.
I'm too old for that to really be able to compound for me now. But if you're getting started and you're in your 20s, you can get an HSA going. That's even better tax advantage than an IRA.
So that's our responsibility corner, I guess, if you will, just because it's we're near the front end of the year, and I'm sure if there's some dips moving forward, some people might appreciate a little bit of knowledge and information there.
Because some people actually tell me that you should, if you can, you should buy it all the first week of the year. Because then it has all year to appreciate. So like if the S&P is up 15% and you DCA'd all year, well, you didn't get that 15%. And I'm thinking, well, maybe, but we're also going to have a 10% pullback a couple of times and I'll get to buy those dips. So I think it'll all even out.
Yeah, if you do it all in January, obviously it increases like your timing risk, right?
Yeah.
So the big news and I know you weren't like super checked in since Monday. Busyness, it happens. But Greenland, I'm sure obviously you heard about this. The Greenland saga. We want to build a golden dome. There's some rare earth minerals. Denmark promised to NATO that they were going to spend $200 million on defense in Greenland. They actually only spent $2 million. Trump talked today at Davos after threatening 10% tariffs. He says, we really need Greenland. I'm willing to buy it. And I'm going to give you guys 10% tariffs if not. And he spoke at Davos today. And then shortly thereafter the speech, he met with the head of NATO. And it seems like they have a concept or a framework of a deal. So they agree at the high level. And now they're just going to drill down into the details. When that news came out, market rallied. Dougie, what say you?
It's nice to have a green day every once in a while. The market has been ripping for people. Like if you've had Intel or you've had Micron or you've had a couple of these other plays, you have been loving this year. Dougie ain't got that stuff. Dougie's got the same stuff he still got last year, which he has very high conviction on, and he's loving having it. He's been eating a little bit of crow, though, until today when VG finally ripped, which feels good. Also, Baidu has just been gangbusters this year, too. That continues to do well. But yeah, look at this. Those are just thick. I don't understand why Greenland is a thing that Europe cares about. Now, I do kind of understand why the United States cares about it from a like global strategic point of view. Okay, fine. The Russians and the Chinese have to shoot their missiles over Greenland at us, so it gives us an opportunity to intercept it. If they're shooting missiles at Europe, the missiles are not going to fly over Greenland. So why, like, the strategic value to Europe doesn't exist for Greenland? It's not like they put any of that land to work. This is like, why are we fighting over this? This is dumb. And the volatility in the markets have appeared dumb because of it. But hey, Trump always chickens out, and then the markets rip. So I hope he chickens out a lot more.
I don't know if it's like actual
he also
fighting
gets what he wants,
more than it is like saber rattling, right? Like it almost feels like two brothers like fighting over the remote control or something. I don't know.
Well, I mean, Canada is saying that they want to cozy up to China. That seems petty, but it's like, okay, Fafo, go for it.
Yeah. So my fiance, her mom is from Canada. So like her grandma still lives in Canada, right? So it's, I'm now personally attached and invested in how our friendly maple-y neighbors up north are doing. And, maybe I could just pull up the clip here, but like the way he said New World Order, it was just so weird. So for those who don't know, back in April of last year, so not even 12 months ago, when Canada was having their election, Carney said that China was the number one threat to Canada. And over the weekend, he basically said he said that Beijing is our new best friend. We're going to be doing EV deals with them. We discussed Greenland, and we have much alignment on these national security issues. It's like, and then he said that we're honored to be part of the New World Order. And I'll just have to pull this clip up because it was just so weird. But it's really strange to see them, just immediately go running to China. And if I'm not mistaken, the United States is still Canada's largest trading partner, and obviously our neighbor. Canada does not. This is going to be a giant mistake. China's actually a police state. They have issues with concentration camps and Uyghurs. They still use child labor, and everyone outsources their net zero climate initiatives to China. Like they've just become the giant factory for the world, and everyone gets to pat themselves on the back for being net zero. But it really all just got outsourced to China, who has mass surveillance, and they're communists, and that system just it doesn't work out. And they keep threatening Taiwan. I think this is a really big blunder that Mark Carney didn't really need to make. I'm attempting to find this New World Order clip. I maybe should have had it pulled up, but it was in Beijing when he met there. So,
I mean, they can.
Well, while we're on the China topic, Baidu has been crushing.
Yeah, I mean they're the Google of China. I mean, I'm not bearish China. I mean, I'm just more pro US, and I'm fine with them being a competitor as long as we're not adversaries. Do you know what I mean?
There's always going to be like competition, but yeah. I'm sure you're talking about like militarily, right?
Right. I mean, because being in competition with someone can make you both better. Like when you trade with someone, you both get what you want. Someone may get a better deal, like someone might get a better deal than the other person got, but you ultimately both get something that you didn't have before that you wanted. That's why you trade. So, like, I mean, hey, if we're trading with China, that's good. It also means that they understand that they can't just go ham and, if they lose access to American markets, they're less likely to play by the rules, be good boys and girls. It's only when they lose access to all the American markets that they're more likely to, flip the table over and go do their own thing.
Well, so as I was looking for this New World Order clip, the reason I couldn't find it is because he gave a speech at Davos today, and he said the old world order is not coming back. So it sounds like he's really like doubling down here, and he's kind of, before anything's even happened, the dollar's still a reserve currency of the world, and we still have top dog military status. He's kind of nailing Jesus to the cross here and saying that the king's dead. I'm not sure what he's trying to play here or what his angle is. Like what do you think is going through his head?
Orange Man bad. Say
It
opposite of Orange
simple.
Man. It's that simple. You think say opposite of Orange Man.
I don't know.
Yeah, just do opposite of Orange Man, and Europe will like me. Well, you don't live in Europe, buddy. You live in North America.
Canada kind of acts like Europe, though.
Well, I mean, remember they were even though they had. I'm going to butcher the Canadian history here, but they were part of the British Empire, but not directly controlled. But Britain still had control of of the Canadian Constitution, or the UK still had control of the Canadian Constitution until as recently as the 1980s. So, if we think about, America's a young country, well, Canada's even younger. And then half their people are French anyway. So,
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see what direction they go, because I think Alberta, didn't they have some sort of vote on what were they trying
Alberta
to do?
is the Texas of Canada.
Yeah, they had some sort of referendum. to leave Canada 6 days ago. So over the weekend, long lineups in Central Alberta to sign petition. Interesting.
Yeah. Alberta, the 51st state. Let's do it.
Hey,
more energy for the United States.
If they vote for it, I'm down for that.
If you're not, you can be not interested in the energy play, but everything is based off of energy. Like there's no such thing as tech without energy.
We'll trade them Minnesota for Alberta. Let's do it.
Done. Let's do it.
Don't even have to think about it. Truly, it's no brainer for us.
Black ability, Venezuela, 51st state. I mean, honestly, Argentina. So if we can move Argentina into being 51st state, then Javier Milei was born in Argentina, which is one of the members of the United States. So he could be the next president. Because Milei is a character. Trying to figure out a way to bring the political talent into the country.
So
let's like, okay, well, if we're going to have the communist states of America, we'll just go let them do that thing. If they want, if they want an economy that has no oil and gas, then they can have that thing. Like Phillips 66 and Chevron are piecing out of California. They're not just like moving their corporate headquarters. They're closing their production facilities. And they're closing them in Washington too. That means Oregon, which has no natural energy infrastructure on its own, now is going to have to buy energy from somewhere else. Oregon might have to ship all their energy into the state.
So you sent me this video that this guy broke it down, and all 100% of gasoline that ships into Oregon comes from a refinery in Washington, right?
Yeah.
And Washington is becoming so eco-friendly and really just hostile towards energy businesses and labor that they're now on the verge of pulling out of the state, right?
Yep. They are they already have
California. If that refinery closes, then Oregon loses their entire source of fuel unless they get it from diesel. And they would have to get it from an obviously much further away refinery, and prices would skyrocket.
Yep.
Yeah.
It would have to come in. It would have to come in via the port. It would have to come in via Portland. I don't know. Maybe they can truck it in from the Dakotas, or Colorado. I don't know, but
trucking gasoline's got to be way more expensive than pipeline or tanker.
Oh yeah, and way riskier too if you're worried about environmental impact. Putting it on a truck is way riskier than putting it in a pipeline.
Interesting. Well, so let's dig into some stocks here. I know we talked a little bit about Venture Global already. Did you have anything else on that? Or is this something that you're still buying here above $10, or you've got your position and you're letting it ride?
Oh, yeah, I'm still buying. So I had sold some puts that I was hoping to get assigned on, as to get extra good entry price on them. So now that we've run away from that, those puts are looking like they're going to expire. Those contracts are going to expire worthless. But I actually wanted the shares. It was so directionally bad. I thought I was going to get assigned. So I had to figure out a way to get more shares. So I have a 5-figure share count. I would like a 6-figure share count.
So this is one that I'm looking at, and just when you stock pick long enough, everyone knows the girl that they wanted to ask to the dance, and they chickened out and didn't quite get around to it, and then you think it's too late, but it's actually not too late. it's never too late. If you still think the stock is going too higher, you can absolutely jump on board later. And when you get clearing events like this where like a lawsuit gets settled, like guys, when Google had their DOJ lawsuit, Google traded up to $213. It moved another 55% to $330 from there. That was after the information already came out that the DOJ suit was done. So like sometimes this 15% up after hours could be the start of like a 32%. I'm not making recommendations.
Their brother's going to be trying to trade this tomorrow morning.
Yeah. So I'm looking at it. And I might invest and investigate.
So that there's two natural gas plays that I'm in. The other is NEXT. What did they happen? What did they do today? Did they just go up with
next decade
in sympathy with LNG? So they kind of do the same thing.
They're at $5.
Okay, but next decade is not profitable. They're solving the same problem, but they're using like basically a different business model. So rather than doing it all themselves, they're partnering with a bunch of people, and they're getting their partners to do the initial construction of the first 4 trains. And trains just means it's like a process. It's like where the natural gas comes in and then it fully gets processed and then gets liquefied and put onto a ship. That is a train. So there are like 4 trains running now, and those are all with partners, and they have all been paid for by partners. So next decade actually makes very little money on this portion of their facility, but they own 100% of like the next 5 trains that are coming online. So they used other people's money to help them build a facility, and now they're basically making their partners whole, but now they get to dive in. So that's why they're more of a literally next decade play. So they are a 2030s play. So if you just want to pick something to slowly accumulate over time, that might be a better choice. Where Venture Global, they're going for it now, and they're just trading on the spread.
Now, some of the key
they have more lawsuits to deal with too.
Now, some of the key parts to this on the demand side, and we can tie topics 1 and 2 together here, is that Europe has been funding the Ukraine war, and that was one of the things that Trump mentioned in his Davos, Greenland brouhaha, is that Europe has been buying Russian natural gas. They kind of abandoned a lot of their energy independence. Instead, they decided to buy natural gas from an adversary, which, I was up all night.
Finances the war.
Yeah, well, I thought I was watching Trump live this morning at 4 a.m. I was not. It was a rerun from 2020. I got.
Okay.
And the reason I got is because Trump was talking about this in 2020, talking to Europe and saying, you guys are buying gas from an adversary. That's a liability. And I thought I was watching the speech from like live.
Yeah.
But it was 6 years old, and, just that, as much as some people don't like him, if you look at a list of receipts of when he's been dead right, oh boy, it's not a short list. So I found that interesting that, they're giving money to Ukraine for, to defend them and their liberty and their sovereignty, but they're also giving money to the Russian war machine. And 4 years into the war, Europe is still buying Russian gas. Now that's changing as of last month. My understanding,
right?
My understanding is that
and donating weapons to Ukraine.
Yeah,
They're not selling you weapons to Ukraine. Well, they're I guess they've loaned, right? So they will get paid back with interest. It was the U.S. that was giving away weapons, but basically they're paying the Russians and then they're loaning. That's trading both sides of the spread. Sorry, I didn't mean to
the point to this and tying it back to natural gas is that it's now evident and clear at this point that the president was right about this, and that Europe is going to have to, if they're going to buy gas and be dependent on importing energy, at least do it with your friends who have good trade agreements with and who you have a good societal overlap with and believe in the same things, instead of trying to recreate the USSR. You don't want that liability there. So that would actually be a really, really good thing for US LNG, on top of our friends in South Korea and Japan. So that's obviously what's got a lot of people interested in the name for the long term, of all these dominoes starting to fall, and US being a large LNG exporter.
So, well, what's not going to happen. Like the old world order is not coming back. In 1988, there were approximately 5,100 tanks, U.S. tanks, in Germany to defend against Soviet aggression. If they finance the rebuilding of the Soviet Union, the United States is not doing that again.
No.
We're not putting, during ostensibly peacetime, we're not putting 300,000, 400,000 people under arms in Germany just to make sure that they don't get invaded. So, they can talk a big game about, having to cozy up to China or whatever, but nope, they still have F-35s. Eurofighter is trash. I mean, Gripen is awesome, sure, but Saab can't build enough of those. I mean, you could have a European defense team, and you did start to see those companies' stocks move over the last 2 years.
Rheinmetall.
Yeah. But yeah, like I said, the new Gripen is awesome. Saab did a great job with that. It probably pairs very well with like the Meteor missile that the Brits make. Yeah, but F-35 is the NATO standard. So, and they're all committed to buy those already, and their supply chains are all built up, and their armaments are all built up. And their training is done. They're not gonna stop flying U.S. They're not gonna stop using U.S. made weapons, and it's only going to get harder for them because Palmer Luckey is literally in business to become the world's gun store. So, yeah, they're gonna have to continue to do business with the United States, because I would think buying Chinese hardware is an existential risk to my national security.
Oh, obviously, yeah. Plus we own their whole software stack, right? With Amazon, Apple, Google, Netflix.
Every computer in their country runs Windows, like in their government offices, right?
Yeah.
Who's to say that there's not a kill switch built into Windows somewhere where, POTUS can just turn off your country, all your PCs in your country? Like, I don't think Windows would do it, but it doesn't mean they didn't. Maybe that's why Windows 11 is having so many problems. But, it's just like, so these are all software things. Now, put it like this: there's a non-zero chance that thing exists in Windows. there's 100% chance it would exist in a Chinese software stack.
Yeah.
You know, it's probably something like between 0 and 25% that thing exists in Windows. Yeah, but it's 100% chance it's there in Chinese operating systems. So if you want to go full China and you want to buddy up to those people and you want to abandon Silicon Valley and the United States software, be my guest. But every single Baidu car that you have is transmitting all that data back home. And it's, you know, that's a problem in the United States. It's one of the reasons that Chinese EVs aren't sold here, is because we know that they, for a long time now, like even if you can get one in the United States, you're still not allowed to drive it onto a military base.
Right. It's just a liability.
Any Chinese vehicle, because they'll have cameras on them and blah, 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 and they're just like, it's too easy for them to just surveil us with their hardware.
Right.
Yeah. So
speaking of the American,
but Europe apparently is fine with it because they have a lot of sales in Europe. So
yeah, I mean, cheap cars, right? Like we do the same thing with clothing. They they don't see the install base of cars as a risk. We do. We see it as a moving potential weapon and a surveillance.
Moving surveillance node.
Yeah. So it's both of those items. But, you know, we're happy buying clothes and stuff and little gadgets and stuff on TikTok or whatever. But it seems like they're willing to take it a step further. But speaking of American tech giants, Andy Jassy was there today. So and obviously Becky.
Oh yeah, play some stuff.
Yeah.
If you've got clips, I'd be happy to sit here and watch them and react to them because I didn't get to see very much of anything.
Okay, cool. Yeah, here's Jassy.
Consumers amid the Trump administration's tariff agenda.
Consumers have been pretty resilient. They continue to spend. They continue to shop. I think that wherever they can, they are trying to trade down in price. They are looking for bargains wherever they can find bargains. I see people a little bit more hesitant on the higher price discretionary items. We have improved our speed of delivery so much that we have so many more people buying everyday essentials from us. It's amazing how fast that business is growing for us. You know, I think that we'll have to see what happens on tariffs. You know, we did a lot of pre-buying in the early part of 2025 to enable us to try and keep prices as low as possible for customers. And a lot of our third-party sellers did a lot of forward staging in our fulfillment network for the same reasons. And that supply has run out, you know, in the fall. And so you start to see some of the tariffs creep into some of the prices of some of the items, and you see some sellers are deciding that they're passing on those higher costs to consumers in the form of higher prices. Some are deciding that they'll absorb it to drive demand, and some are doing something in between. And so I think you're starting to see more of that impact. And we have so many items. We have hundreds of millions of items, and we have 2 million sellers, many of whom are willing to pursue different strategies in how they price that are, you know, Amazon's consumers overall, I think, have fared well. But, you know, we'll have to see what happens in 2026.
What do you do once you run out of those strategies, like you said, like buying ahead, trying to do some of these things? Are there other levers that you can use to keep prices down?
Well, as much as we can, we're trying to work with our distribution partners and our selling partners to try to keep prices as low as possible for consumers. That is our focus. I mean, it has always been our focus, but especially in times of more uncertain economies or when there's changes in trade, our priority is try to figure out how to keep prices as low as possible. At a certain point, because retail is as you know, retail's a mid-single digit operating margin business. If people's costs go up by 10%, there aren't a lot of places to absorb it. And so we're going to do everything we can to work with our selling partners to make prices as low as possible for consumers, but you don't have endless options.
Let's talk a little bit about the jobs picture, because you did make some news last summer when you talked about how AI is going to be something that you think will eventually lead to fewer jobs at Amazon. That's a little different than the take we heard from Jamie Dimon at JP Morgan, who said that if JP Morgan is successful, he thinks they'll have more employees years from now, but they'll be redeployed in different arenas. Have you thought any more about that? Because when you did scale back with some of the employees, you said it was not because of AI.
Yeah, it wasn't. It was really, it was what we were talking about earlier. It was really around culture, being able to move quickly and have ownership. I think what I said was I've in the next few years, I could see or having fewer people than we had before. Some of that, a lot of that will be just our continuing to allow ourselves to move quickly, as it's important culturally and speed-wise. But I do think that jobs are going to be impacted by what's happening with AI over time. They're not in a significant way yet, but I think you'll see that if you just think about how AI and agents will enable you to do coding and customer service and research and analytics. Even just the idea of doing spreadsheets the way we've done them in the past, I think those will be pretty different. And so I don't think that wipes out all those jobs, but I think we'll still have plenty of people in those roles. And those people will start their jobs, each task they pursue at a higher, more advanced starting point. All the rote work that we used to all have to do before we could get to actually the thinking work, a lot of that will be done by AI. So we'll still have people who will be able to invent quicker and more easily. But I do think that you won't need as many people in all those jobs that we've thrown humans at for the last 20 years. That said, I do believe we're hiring a lot of people now in AI and automation and robotics and, our low Earth orbit satellite that we're building in healthcare. So we're going to have a lot of people in other businesses we're pursuing, and they're going to be brand new jobs that we haven't thought of. I mean, 15 years ago, there weren't jobs like cloud architect. Those didn't exist. And whenever you go through any big technology transformation, you find new jobs. I think the same is going to be true here, medium to long term.
All right, there's Jassy. So he hit on a few different things there. Job displacement, new job creation. He hit on operating leverage there at the end. He talked about all their different verticals that they have and robotics, automation. He talked, he really hit a lot there within a 5-minute window. What are your raw reactions?
The biggest thing to me was him just talking about the consumer is good. Like, okay, they're taking more time, I guess, on high, inexpensive items. But look at items that were expensive that aren't anymore. Okay, so is an iPad that is now like $200, is that still expensive? Like, it's not $1,000, right? So there's lots of items that are, or look at like men's suits. Like, those are, you can get those for under $80 now. Like,
right. So on one hand you have,
yeah. So on one hand it's like, okay, well,
tariffs and the inflation, and on the other hand you have like this natural deflationary pressure of
prices
efficiency.
are still coming down.
Yeah.
Yep. Electronic, stuff made with electronic components, it's all still coming down. I mean, are there certain things that are going up in price? Yeah, but there's plenty of things that are coming down that we would have considered expensive before and that we don't consider anymore.
It's really interesting to see them, like, after all these years, they're still staying true to your margin is my opportunity.
Yep.
Here we are in 2026, and even the Trainium chips that they have are built upon that premise that we are going to be the lowest total cost of ownership chip. And, that segues really well right into Anthropic, raising new money with Sequoia. Sequoia is an investor in OpenAI and Grok. So this is pretty unusual for them to fund a third a third competitor in the same space. Normally, this is something that they try not to do for obvious reasons. It's kind of awkward when you go into subsequent rounds to be like, well, how much money are you going to give my competition to kill me off? But Anthropic raises new money, and they have been crushing it.
Which I missed a chance to get in on. Oh.
Did you?
Yep, right at the end of last year, but I didn't want to pay the taxes on the money I would have had to take out to put into it.
Yeah, sometimes thinking about taxes ends up costing you more money than the taxes themselves.
Yep. That's okay. I'll have a chance to buy it when it's public.
What I'm trying to find here is Anthropic's revenue. Stall for me, Dougie. This might take a few minutes.
It's all okay. Well, somebody asked me whether Next or VG was a better bet for 2035. It's impossible to tell. I mean, liquid natural gas is called the Widowmaker because it can reverse on you so quickly. Yeah. If we break the whole thing down, NEXT has an opportunity to get their business basically started for free, and now they get to grow more of it, or now they get to own all their growth. VG has to pay all their capital outlay, and they have to pay the loans back for their construction. So, which is better? Which is a better model? I'm not sure, but Venture Global is already profitable, so they're paying back their loan and they're profitable. So they're able to service the debt and make money. That's good. NEXT is going to have comparatively significantly less debt to pay back. So when they start actually making money, it's going to look like they have higher margins, and they're going to be also looking like they're growing like crazy. Will they get a growth multiple? Will they get, on those margins? Who knows? Who knows what the world will be trading like by then?
And part of that's just because it's energy, right?
How many data centers are going to get built in the next 9 years?
Well, and part of that's because it's just energy, right? You think it's the sector, and it's because your net income and cash flow is going to be dependent upon that commodity's price, right? Is that fair?
Yeah. Well, not just the commodities price, the spread between the U.S. market and the European market.
Right, because the bigger that spread is, the more profitable that exporting business is going to be.
Yeah, because that's all they do. They don't pipeline it around the United States to wherever you need it. Okay, both of these companies, they take gas, which is a gas, and then they compress it so it turns into a liquid and gets very, 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 very cold. And then they put it on a tanker and ship it across the country or across the ocean, and then deliquefy it, turn it back into gas, and put it on the pipeline.
So here's the Anthropic chart that I wanted to show. Cool. And in orange, on the left-hand side, you've got the change in an enterprise LLM market share. And I don't think it's a surprise that Codex is still doing well and that Google is playing some catch-up here. But Anthropic has really pretty consistently been able to improve their models and really get a good chunk of that market share. Mm-hmm. Now sitting at 42% with Codex at 21%. So Amazon's done great. And one of the other things that I think people should be looking at here, this is from Semi-Analysis. This is Dylan Patel. Now this is back from September, but it seems like people have already forgotten that article. I know the stock got a bump when this article came out, but it talks about AWS reacceleration as not only new NVIDIA products come online, but also Trainium 3 coming online and bringing more compute, and the potential for AWS to reaccelerate back into the low to mid 20%. I think this is a big part of the Amazon thesis if you're long the stock.
Yep.
And I think it's really interesting to see people still. I had someone on X today tell me that they think that Trainium chips are going to be discontinued within 24 months. And this is like someone who's like a stock person who has like the word capital in their name.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's starting to feel a little bit like Google search is dead. Is it not? Like you have the number one cloud in the entire world who is still growing at a good clip. They have their own silicon. Jassy is the godfather of modern cloud. Like he is the CEO because AWS was his baby.
Yep.
He's the captain of the ship. It's starting to confuse me a little bit, and I'm 60% of my position in Amazon is leaps. I sent you my position the other day. They're conservative, they're in the money, and they're long dated, but it's starting to feel like a good spot for entry because it almost seems inevitable. Not financial advice, do your own due diligence, but it feels like Amazon for just more reasons than we can list in an hour. They have so many verticals that they can pull on in different ways that they can monetize their scale and advantages.
And their core business isn't going away either. I mean, every time you turn around, I mean, how many Amazon is your neighborhood as nuts as mine is? Because
so
like
I live in like a complex,
like
and
my
complex is like 3 and 2 story buildings.
Yeah.
So there's probably a few hundred of us within viewing distance, and I like my back deck. I'm out on it a lot, and I can see basically the whole complex. And at least 3 times a day, the Amazon truck is here. And I know Matt put out a tweet the other day. He ordered something at 8 in the morning, and it was on his doorstep by 10:30.
Yeah.
Like that's how do you compete with that?
I have that here. We have like 4 Amazon deliveries a day from the Amazon truck. Now UPS also comes twice a day, drops off Amazon items, and then you have like the individual drivers that also come and drop off stuff. Like it is possible to have like just in my house that get like 6 or 7 different deliveries per day. That's amazing. That's becoming so ubiquitous that it's happening now. At the other time, on the other side, you think, geez, that is super inefficient to have all that delivery going on. But I mean, modern society is just accepting it and becoming it. Drone delivery is coming online too. That's coming from Walmart, believe it or not. And I actually have friends I was talking about in one of my other Discord channels. They're like it's in Houston now, and they're wanting to test it. So they're trying to order stuff from Walmart and get it to be delivered via drone.
Well, I don't understand how anyone can own how can you own FedEx or UPS here? I know our boy Amit, he said he's now going to be an investor into UPS given the outfit here. I'm so excited for his project, by the way. Whatever he's got going on with Steve, he hasn't told any of us. So I'm really excited to see what happens. And he does deliver the news. But Amazon is taking over the logistics business. Everybody else is going to be piggybacking on their fleet, their automation, their delivery tracking, their warehouses, the Logix network, because they're getting better and better at this every year. Still in 2026, every year they end up getting more efficient with their routing, with how they actually process things within their warehouse. The robotics, they're now at over 1 million active robots within their warehousing. It's just sensational. Spencer, man. Spencer has a knack for AI. She's really good at it.
Like, how is this not like the most perfect thing?
I mean, really, the only thing wrong with it at all is the timestamp in the top right-hand corner. It's off by 2 years, but other than that,
it put a timestamp on it, which is impressive.
You're not wrong at all. Yeah. You know, just a few months ago, like that timestamp would have been messed up. Like one of the digits wouldn't have been a real character at all.
Right. Yeah.
Or like there would be like a really obvious imperfection in the sidewalk or the curb or the truck.
Right.
Yeah.
Anyway, well done. Well done, Spencer. Spencer keeps us very entertained.
Even though I think she watches our show for like half a second and then bounces.
Yeah. I mean, she comes on to say hi and then takes off.
Speaking of Amazon, so Mark Mahaney, one of my most respected, more Amazon. One of my most respected analysts. He does a really, really good job. Book Nothing But Net. I've talked about it on the show before. So here was his comments around his new price target. Well, the price target's the same. He reiterated it this morning at $335. These are usually 12-month price targets. We hosted our Amazon fulfillment check-in. Our takeaway remains constructive and consistent with our Amazon outperform rating. The newest update advances the fulfillment narrative on 3 dimensions. 1, the unit cost curve remains meaningfully improved versus 2021 with an updated endpoint through third quarter of 25. While a robust rebound in cost structure in the most recent quarters underscores that labor and last mile freight costs are becoming the next swing factors. Number 2, the network is shifting from regionalization as routing to regionalization by design, with sortation increasingly embedded in newer FC formats to reduce touch points and improve throughput. Number 3, outbound and last mile infrastructure is becoming increasingly sophisticated. He cites mega sortation hubs, smaller regional sortation hubs, delivery station automation, and a larger station footprint that includes rural formats, reinforcing Amazon's ability to lower cost and reduce reliance on external shipping partners over time. I'll read that part again. Reinforcing Amazon's ability to lower cost and reduce reliance on external shipping partners over time. The near-term debate is straightforward, whether automation, cadence, and productivity gains can stay ahead of labor inflation while ongoing network build-out continues to internalize more of the shipping stack.
Robotics.
Mm-hmm.
So when is Amazon just going to finally put the dogs down? I mean, FedEx is dead. UPS is old yeller. Like, just put them out of their misery. Just either buy them or just kill them off. And all you have to do for that is like, okay, just start picking up packages from me.
So like, strategically,
instead of me
having
having to like
schedule
UPS pickup or whatever, like just start. Your truck's already driving by. Pick up as well.
FedEx or UPS, like if one of them dies, the body won't even be cold yet, and Elizabeth Warren is going to be bitching and moaning about Amazon having a shipping monopoly. Okay, it's in Amazon's best interest to keep these dinosaurs around as long as possible.
But why? We've gone. So look, the Sherman Antitrust Act does not apply to these modern conglomerates. They are delivering better service and better pricing for the customers.
It doesn't matter. It's just so politically popular to just like be like, oh, they own everything.
Yeah, well, that's because these people are old enough to remember when the Sherman Antitrust Act was signed into law. That's why they got into politics to begin with, was to use the Antitrust Act to close stuff down. I mean, we've changed the entire way that these companies work. And, you know, if what Bernie Sanders and Elizabeth Warren don't understand is they think Amazon is competing with UPS and FedEx. Amazon is competing with Microsoft and Google. Okay? They have to own this space, and they have to own it well enough to keep those other hyper conglomerates out of the business.
I don't know. I feel like Amazon, especially Jeff, I feel like he competes really competitively in the space for bottle service with 29-year-olds. He can just simply outbid them if he wants the bottle service.
Yeah.
Sorry, stupid joke.
Well, that's Matt, to be honest with you. That's Matt Money. Does that.
So what's your deal? You think Rolls Royces are better than Lambos?
No, dude, we went to lunch that day, and Matt took me to this steakhouse I'd never been to before, and just was a really great guy. Treated me to lunch. That was awesome. But while we were there, I guess it rained, and so when we were leaving the restaurant, there was a Phantom sitting right there at the valet, and it was like freshly rained, so it had all the beautiful, like it had a perfect wax job on it. You know how that like fresh, wet, yes, just glossy,
crisp,
gleamy, and we're just standing right there in front of it. So
yeah. They're incredibly smooth, man. What a great piece of machinery. It's like art on wheels.
Yeah, when you see it in person, it hits a little different, right? It's like seeing a great work of art on the screen in front of you versus seeing it in real life.
Yeah, there's some guy in Phoenix who's got a Bentley. It's like 63-year-old. Like he looks like he loves golf. Looks like he's been retired for a while. But I saw him roll up, and he spray painted, or not spray painted, some sort of paint, his entire Bentley, like a cotton candy, blue, pink, purple, orange combination. Really? Yeah, dude, he just went crazy with it. I wasn't expecting an old white guy to walk out of it. Okay, I'll just say that. Like it was a little surprising. I'm like, okay,
you're expecting like a NFL player or something to get out of it.
Yeah, exactly. I was expecting like a young, like a new money person.
Yeah,
I just made it 36 hours ago, and I just drove this car off the lot.
Right.
That's all I had for Amazon.
Speaking of that, like one of the athletes that I'm like marginally connected to, like 2 orders, 2 steps away from them, but like I know she just got like her NIL deal and bought a 7 Series BMW. And I'm just like, oh my God, like, doing all the Instagram posts. Oh, I'm so thankful to be able to buy my first car. And I'm like, okay, I guess there's
nothing wrong with it.
Have infinite money.
She'll learn. Anyone who owns a German luxury vehicle, you already know what's up.
I'm just saying, like, get yourself all new cars are generally nice these days, right? Almost every new car is nice. You could get a Lexus for a lot less than you paid for that BMW. But I mean, get yourself a Honda Civic, and sure, like if you should even be buying a new car when you're 20 years old or 19 years old.
Hey, if you've got NIL money like that, why not?
Well, that's a one-time. That's kind of like winning the lottery. You're not gonna have like a 15-year career in your sport. Where you got that kind of money coming in.
You mean she's not going to be LeBron James?
Probably not. I mean, I can hope she does, but it just seems like you can make it a little longer without that. But I mean, look, different people look, I worked in sales for long enough to know different people value different things, and my opinion on how other people spend their money is one of the least relevant things I could ever spend brain cells thinking about.
Sure. Yeah. Cybertrucks are popular in Phoenix. Nothing I can do about it. I could probably spend it better.
You saw that thing I sent you the other day? Oh man. I am not kidding. I don't know if Ray and Michelle are watching, but I mean, I know they are. They live, in town with me. Oh man, our history's not going back far enough for that picture.
What was it?
Remember, I sent you the back of that car.
Back of the car?
It would have been Monday.
Oh man, there's a lot of text between now and Monday.
I'm aware.
I've been deep in the tank.
You have. And then you
I'm finding good stuff,
thing
though.
you were worried about. Like,
One of the things I texted you about was China and the whole Canada thing. I bought some gold this morning to hedge against like Europe, just like totally just being like, you know what, fuck this Donald guy, like fuck him. We're gonna go work with China now. We'll take our chances. I bought some gold this morning, and then as soon as the announcement came out, I sold it for like a 0.5% loss.
makes sense. So yeah, folks. So
Oh yes, this one, yes.
I'm kind of in the middle of nowhere's land, Texas right now, and I'm just at a stop sign or a red light, and I'm right behind this person. Okay, so this person went to Texas A&M. You can tell from there. Like, but come on, that is hardcore. I did not scan the QR code. I'm not that brave. Do not know. That could bring you to some crazy places.
You know what I bet it was? I bet it was a Rickroll.
I mean, I don't know. That person's clearly a fan. Clearly a fan of whatever's going on there. But I was just like,
He's
oh
a
my
fan of
gosh,
Elon,
this
dude.
even exceeds my, it's probably how to get a free Bitcoin or something. But that even exceeds my, or no, it's probably Dogecoin. Might get free Dogecoin.
That would be incredible if it was like some sort of free thing or whatever. Oh, speaking of Doge and crypto and Bitcoin, you've got a new chart behind you.
Oh, yep. I've been updating that every week. So whenever I'm on, folks, you are seeing it. It is the updated chart as of a little before we go on. But man, look at that little yellow line acting like real support there.
It sure is.
We've got the horizontal line, but you also have that diagonal on the bottom of that wedge there. That is just continuing to move. Not seeing a winter yet.
Are we going to the New York meetup? I am not. I'm gonna have a friend in town. Dougie, I believe you're gonna be there, right?
I will be there. I have a busy week next week. I actually had that on the dock, and so I fly out Monday. Tuesday, I am at the Qubits 2026 conference for D-Wave, and I'm meeting up with the Queen, Quantesla, and Laura there. Think we're going to meet up with some other folks too who are already local to Miami, but that'll be in Boca. And then we're there for 2 days at that conference, and then there is a laundromat conference in Fort Lauderdale on Thursday. And then Friday morning, I get on a plane and fly to New York and hang out with Amit and the gang there. And then Monday morning, I'm flying out of LaGuardia at or it might be Newark. I don't remember how to check. but it's a 5 a.m. flight, so that's gonna be not awesome.
Holy shit.
But yes, I will be at the New York meetup. I know like Quantesla will be there. Matt Money's going to be there. Chris Patel's coming in. Steve is going.
I think they said Tanner and Tevis are going to be there as well.
Okay, cool.
I know Sam is going to be at the one in LA. I'll be at the LA meetup.
My wife said she wants to
New
go
York
to
one's going to be packed. I know Adam will be there. The options.
Oh, okay.
How to Retire Early, I think is the name of his channel.
Okay.
So he was the life of the party.
Palantir 2000.
Palantir 2000. Is that his? Is that's his username?
That was his channel too.
Okay. Yeah,
he's cool. He's cool. He was in Miami.
Yeah, he was, dude. He had a group of people around him. He was so enthusiastic about, he retired at what, like 40, 41, something like that. And he was all about spreading the knowledge. He's like, here's how I did it. Here's step 1, step 2, step 3. And like, he had a big group of people around him.
Yep.
The vibes at the meetups are cool.
Hey, speaking of somebody who will not be there though, but our boy TJ the Wheel Deal is getting close to publishing his book. He sent me an advanced copy of his manuscript.
All right, TJ.
So I have been reading that as well. That's quite the honor to have him send that over to me. He and his wife are moving to Houston too.
Are they really? They were in Florida, right?
No, they're in San Antonio. They were looking to move to California, but I think they may have changed I know they've changed their mind on that.
Good, especially, we don't.
Every other rich person's leaving, so.
Yeah. Can you imagine walking right into a wealth tax? Like you chose to move into the state knowing that there was knowing that there was asset seizures coming down the pipe.
Yep. Well, look, this one's going to fail. This one's not going to pass.
No, it just has to get on the ballot though.
Yeah, but it'll get vetoed, and it'll get vetoed because there's only one union that is pushing that stands to benefit from it. What'll happen is it'll get on the ballot, and then it'll get messed up for whatever reason. It'll get blocked, but then all the little communist unions will jump on it, and then it'll pass. And it'll be a one-time seizure of assets.
I don't see why it wouldn't just
first
pass
time
right
it happens. The first time it's going to be for billionaires, but the next time it's going to be for for decamillionaires, and then it'll be for millionaires, which is pretty much everybody who owns a home in the state of California.
Yeah, but I don't see why it doesn't just pass right away to begin with. Like it's going to be so popular. Like they'll just say like Orange Man bad. Tax the rich.
You'll veto that,
and then they'll say it's for healthcare money. That's what they'll like promise. They'll be like, just tax the rich and give us healthcare, or like they'll come up with some sort of like noble cause to where the money's going to go.
Something for safety.
Yeah, safety, education, childcare, like whatever it is, like rent controls. They'll come up with some sort of like populist level
bullshit.
Yeah. And I think it'll pass.
I mean, I'm afraid it will too. The most hilarious thing though is like all the people who are going to be saying it's only one time, it's only a one time, it's only a one time, it's only one time. In 4 years when they do it again, I mean, what we have seen the last 3 weeks, okay, is that I wake up, liberals do something crazy, Republicans get outraged online, nothing happens. I wake up, liberals do something crazy, Republicans get enraged online, nothing happens. Yeah, so there's zero follow through on one side of the fence. It feels like, and the other side will follow through.
Joe Lonsdale made a tweet about that. He basically said, like, if one side has already decided that they're at war, and like the other side insists on being gentlemen, like the gentleman will just lose. I don't know if that's where we're at or if that's an accurate assessment of what's happening, but in the microcosm of law enforcement versus assholes in Minnesota, that's kind of what it feels like. I actually spent 3 hours today researching if it would be a good idea to short California municipal bonds. So I looked at state, I looked at cities, I looked at healthcare facilities, because you just know that that's going to be the next target after Minnesota, maybe after Ohio, but the next one is going to be California, and that's going to be where you get the most bacon.
Mom
from
Donnie's going to say, "Hold my beer." He's going to race to get there first.
He'll try, but that'll be a whole another thing, because he's still baking.
He's a mayor, not
cake.
a governor. Yeah.
Well, yeah, that too, but he's baking the cake still. Newsom's been there. Newsom is the immediate threat to 2028. So I think they're really going to push that issue next. And I think what they're going to find is hospice fraud, healthcare fraud, assisted living fraud.
And do nothing.
They might not do
They'll
anything.
find it. They know it's there. That's how they've been financing Act Blue for a decade.
Yeah, that really rubbed me the wrong way when they said, if you want to donate to the wildfires, and then they posted a link and it ended up just being a Democratic PAC. That felt really, really wrong to me, especially after it was Democratic incompetent leadership that didn't even put water in the hydrants. I have an insurance underwriting background. I can tell you that California's insurance is a disaster. All the insurers are leaving the state because they put a cap on how much you can actually raise rates in the name of the consumer. But what it actually does is it just makes all the insurers illiquid, and they just exit the state. If you don't allow them to take rate because you guys don't have proper forest clearing, and you guys don't have proper building codes to make sure that you guys can fight these wildfires and keep it under control, and then you put a price cap on how much companies can charge, what ends up happening is all the business moves from what's called the admitted market. So think of it, admitted and non-admitted. The admitted market is everything that goes through the California Department of Insurance. So on the admitted side, you tell the Department of Insurance, hey, this is what I charge this class of business, and here's how much I paid out. And then the Department of Insurance says, okay, that's great. You guys lost a little bit of money. We'll let you take 5% of rate. Or they'll say you made
way utility, basically.
Yeah. So if you make too much money, and the reason why
they treat insurance like a utility.
The reason why. So if you make no, it's smart. There's a reason for it. If you make too much money, that means that you're scamming the policyholders. If you don't make enough money, the insurance company is going to go illiquid and won't be able to pay people's claims. So they have to strike a balance of it, because if insurance companies undercharge on the rate and they don't charge enough premium, it's only a matter of time until they become illiquid and insolvent, and then they can't pay their claims. And who ends up holding the bag is the policyholders who have claims. But if they make too much money, that's a signal that they're charging too much for a required product. So what's happened in California is
it's a signal, but you get stuck at. So what these companies don't have is they don't have the liquidity to just say, oh, yep, when we lose when a whole city burns down, or a whole city floods like New Orleans, right? Yeah, they don't have that kind of liquidity, and it doesn't matter what. The only way they could have had that is to have bankrolled, just made bank during times when nothing was happening.
No. There's an extra layer here. So the extra layer is reinsurance.
Okay. Talk to us about it. Okay.
Yeah. So say you're an insurance company and you insure $200 million of houses in Louisiana. At a certain point, if you're a portfolio manager, you're going to start measuring that risk, and you're going to say, oh gosh, I'm not sure I want to write any more business in the 9th Ward because we already insure $15 million of business in the 9th Ward, and it's 9 feet under sea level. So you're going to manage your risk in that way, or you can change the underwriting requirements to force them to buy flood insurance on their own. So once you get up to $20 million, you might say, okay, for this particular zip code, we're going to mandate flood insurance. Otherwise, we won't write the business. Or the next layer is, hey, I'm willing to write, but if I'm at $20 million and that's what I'm comfortable with, but I can make money writing up to $50 million, but I don't have the capacity to do it. You actually reach out to a reinsurance company. So there's a few companies that do this. Berkshire is one of them. SEIC is one of them. Arch Capital Group is one of them. Lloyd's of London, you might have heard of them. But there's a bunch of reinsurance companies that will say, okay, Mr. Insurance Company, if you end up having one event that ends up costing you more than $20 million, we might, and there's a number of ways you can structure this, we're going to pay half of the dollars above $20 million. Or they might say, we'll pay 90% of the dollars over $20 million. You could customize that however you want. So the insurance companies have reinsurance, and that lowers their profits, but it smooths out their risk profile. So the issue here with California, looping it back around, is that if you have an insurance company that says, hey, we just got our ass kicked in 2017, 2019, 2020, and 2021 in fires, and we need to take 50% rate, otherwise we're going to go insolvent. And the state of California says we are only going to let you charge a maximum of 7%. Well, why would I stay in a state that's going to mandate that I do unprofitable business? Pack my bags, I'm out of here. And what ends up happening is when all the players leave the market, then they all have to go to this other side, the non-admitted market, where the Department of Insurance doesn't have any say what the rate is. On the admitted side, they have the say of what the rate is because the Department of Insurance improves it. So what this looks like in practice is, let's take a $3 million house. On the admitted side, that might be $15,000 a year of premium. On the non-admitted side, that's going to be more like $90,000. And they can charge whatever they want because it's the wild, wild west. That's why it's the non-admitted market. So a lot of the houses in Malibu, in Santa Monica, along that whole coastline, in wildfire-prone areas, even in Northern California, any areas in San Diego or LA that have earthquake and landslide risk, they are all moving on to this non-admitted side of the business, and insurance rates are skyrocketing. That's been another huge issue as to why people are leaving California, because you end up having to pay 6 figures of insurance every single year. And that's before you even get to the earthquake insurance, which is separate. 90% of homes in California do not have earthquake insurance. So if they ever get hit with the big one, it's gonna require a federal bailout, and that's kind of what they're banking on.
Yeah. Just they're assuming they're too big to fail, and everybody else will pay for them. Well, look, so let me ask you. So, how does that then include? So, what we can assume will eventually happen is California will stand up its own state-run insurance.
They have their own earthquake pool.
Okay, so what happened in Texas? After Hurricane, I believe it was Hurricane Ike, which was before I moved here. But there were certain areas that are flagged as sensitive to wind damage. So you must own insurance against wind damage as well. Okay, I live close enough to the coast where my house, I'm like 3 blocks off of Galveston Bay. So I have to have wind insurance.
But it's most of Harris County.
I couldn't tell you.
At least at the
Probably-
company
Harris
that
County
I
is
work
huge.
for.
Harris County is huge, so
Yeah.
you may not have to carry as much, right? But my premium is basically one extra whole mortgage payment per year.
That would be a dream in California, by the way. So the earthquake insurance is about the same cost as like the normal coverage. So again, going back to that like $3 million house that's paying $15,000 a year, it's not required by the lender, which I find is interesting because the lender
So
knows.
ours is required by the lender.
Right. Earthquake is not. And
Right.
so if you wanted that earthquake insurance, it would be an extra $15,000 a year.
Which
And
is
since it's
more
not
akin
required,
to
no one
flood.
buys it.
More akin to flood.
Yeah,
Like,
exactly.
I don't have to have flood where I'm at. We still get it because I'm not stupid. But I had slept like a baby through Hurricane Harvey or through Tropical Storm Harvey, even though we did not flood, almost everyone else did. But I slept perfectly. That's another story for another time. But what has happened since Hurricane Ike, the windstorm insurance rates went through the roof, spiked through the roof, right? And that severely depressed the housing market. So in order to, which depresses because in Texas there is no income tax. Everything is property taxes. So if they're not collecting property taxes by housing prices going up and lots of people owning housing, then the municipalities aren't getting their tax revenue. So they are incentivized to keep the insurance payments as low as possible. So TWIA got stood up, Texas Windstorm Insurance Association got stood up and introduced pricing so low that they outpriced all the private insurers. You can no longer purchase private windstorm insurance in Texas.
Yeah, I'm sure that won't have any long-term effects at all. Like it'll totally end well. That government intervention, it's going to be a good thing, Dougie.
They all left. Okay, so now there's this fund, which the state legislature uses for other things. It's literally called the Rainy Day Fund. They literally use it for all these other projects now. So when a giant hurricane finally does hit the Houston Ship Channel again and runs right up Harris County's a-hole and wrecks shop, your insurance policy will not be worth the paper it's printed on because the state will not have the money to pay out.
Yeah. I think with all that insurance talk, I think we're ready for a palate cleanser. Are we ready for some Alex Carp?
Yes.
Okay, let's do some Alex Carp.
It's
The foundation
like, the
for
view
white
count's
collar
gone from like
in Europe and the
whatever it
United
was,
States has been
15
through
down
the
to
universities.
3.
But I just heard you say
Too much
we
insurance.
need more vocational men and women, and they're going to be. But are you also insinuating we're probably going to need less white collar?
I think what we need to do is yes, but I think we need different ways of testing aptitude. You know, it's like there are a lot of people doing X that should be doing Y. Like if you could manage one of our systems, like just the person managing our Maven system in the U.S. Army is a former police officer who I think went to a junior college, and they're doing very, very high-end, very complicated targeting globally. And that person actually is irreplaceable. And I think in the past, the way we tested for aptitude would not have fully exposed how irreplaceable that person's talents are. And would they have been as talented if they had not gone to their college? Yes. But I think I tend to, even inside Palantir, if you look at inside Palantir, what am I really doing all day? I'm walking around, figuring out what is someone's outlier aptitude. And then I'm putting them on that thing and trying to get them to stay on that thing and not on the 5 other things they think they're great at. Like,
Keeping their.
Yeah, it's like, well, everyone at Palantir, every engineer at Palantir, it's the most, wherever I go in the world, like for as you know, maybe for 18 years, everyone thought we were like a business joke. And now lots of business people want my advice. You know, the only people who don't want my advice at Palantir about business are Palantir engineers. They're like, hey, Alex, I have an idea about how we could just be in a much better company. And it's always like, yeah, it's like literally McDonald's, but it's like, we should have some titles and you should stop speaking in public. And yeah, and then, I mean, there's probably right about the speaking in public sometimes. I certainly admit that.
I don't think
Alex being a little human there. I'll try and skip ahead. So I think he closed strong with some other topics here.
The tech adoption in Europe is a serious and very, very structural problem. And what scares me the most is I haven't seen any political leader just stand up and say, we have a serious and structural problem that we are going to fix. So that then you get to the developing world. I would imagine, it also depends what you mean by the developing world. I would imagine with not enough knowledge, you're just going to find pockets that go very well and pockets that go very poorly. As a generalization, like again, if you go back to this somewhat non-successful soliloquy I had about the underlying architecture, one way to look at the unfairness of AI is it pen tests, meaning it load bears on things. So societies that can, and organizations and companies that can bear that load have a huge advantage. The problem is if you've been pretending you're bearing a load you're not, it collapses, and that's where you have to start. And so if you go around and just say, okay, what societies and microcultures are going to be load bearing here, I think you would find that parts of the developing world, certain communities in that are going to do very well. You do need a realistic assessment of the load bearing. And there's a certain honesty that is painful for all of us in this technology, large language models, however implemented in software. You just cannot obfuscate what can bear the load and what can't. And then political structures are built to do just that. Like, yeah, I can't fix anything, but I can give you some bullshit line that you want to hear that's going to make you not care about how bad your life is and how much worse it's going to be tomorrow. I can give you that for free. And that stuff is harder to get away with in this culture. And you know, I still view myself as a card-carrying progressive, and I think it's the single most important thing a progressive could do is go around and say, yeah, but the revolution that's coming is going to expose the actual market value of what you're doing, whether we want it or not. Like, it's like, I don't even want to know the market value of some of this stuff, but it is over a relative rapid period of time. So next 3 years, you're just going to get market value, honesty in all sorts of character in communities and micro communities. And the best thing you can do if you are in a community, whether that is a large community like Germany or a large community, larger like America, and you really care for the people you're representing, is to say, yeah, but we have to kind of look closely at what load we can bear.
So the full interview is 34 minutes. I have one more clip here that I want to share from that 34-minute interview.
Legacy systems, legacy issues. How do we accelerate the adoption that it's good for humanity?
Well, I mean, our adoption accelerates beyond our capacity. So I think if you just buy large language models off the shelf and try to do any of this, it won't work.
It's a commodity.
Also, it's not precise enough. You can't do underwriting with a large. You couldn't do any of these things that are regulated. No. So moving to like everybody, there's not like the problem with adoption at this point is people have tried things that just can never work. Like you borrow a large language model, you put it on your stack, and you wonder why, it's like not working. And so what you're going to see, especially in America, is people trying to do something like what we do with ontology, maybe by hand. Because once you build a software layer to orchestrate and manage the large language models in a language that your enterprise understands, you actually can create value. And I think Like there's a lot of discussions like, are we in an AI bubble? What is the meaning of the bubble? Well, it's like, I think if anything, we're just in a lag where there's a lot of AI, some of it works. Again, if you go back to the battlefield context, like everybody in the world assumed this would not work, but now it does work. And so now the question isn't, does it work, but how can we get it to work for my country? And this is exactly what's happening in companies. It's like, oh, this company, it worked, mine didn't. What are you doing? Like, for example, I mean, if you want to just make it like parochial to us, Palantir barely has a sales force. In fact, it seems to be getting smaller every time I go see them. And it's like, and it's simply because you're laughing because you know it's the Palantirians here, but it's getting smaller and smaller and smaller. And it's not because we're trying to save on the unit economics. It's actually because it is a low trust environment in AI. People have tried lots of stuff. A lot of it hasn't worked. But if you've delivered stuff that does work, why do you need a sales force? Like you just—
It sells itself.
Well, you have to say.
So Karp continuing to make the claim there that if you build it, they will come. We have the best product, and
Backhand right at Benioff.
and our acceleration, the quote that I took away, our acceleration adoption is beyond our capacity.
Yeah.
That's almost a forecast of demand.
I got to tell you, that actually pisses me off.
Why is that?
Because that's been an issue for 5 years now.
Same thing with NVIDIA, though.
That they have more work than they can deal with. At some point, bro, scale up.
I'm gonna let him run the business. That's where I'm like Jensen's been
look, I'm not
backlogged on
trying to
NVIDIA chips for 5 years.
They need to break up commercial and defense. Okay, and fire Alex Karp. I'm just saying, at some point, my guy, if you don't, regardless of how good your product is, if you don't service the customers, they'll go somewhere else, and they'll land and expand there, and they'll get entrenched.
The customer. He never said that he's not servicing them. He just said
he's saying there's customers that they can't take on.
Yeah, but it's not like someone else can service them.
Well,
they have a one-of-one product.
CEOs and CEOs don't know how. I mean, they have to go. They can't just go to a single source. They have to go get multiple bids, right, for a competing product.
I mean, they can pretend like they can pretend like they're quoting products that are like similar to each other, but anyone who's been following the story knows that if you want the product that actually works, take a number and wait in line. And that's just how it is. And yes, could they scale it faster? Maybe. I don't know. Their numbers seem fine to me.
On the sidelines, like, I'm just saying.
But you also don't want to degrade the experience and the efficacy of the product because you have a forward deployed engineer who doesn't know anything about anything because you wanted to scale up, and now your reputation is at stake because you bought Palantir and it didn't work because you didn't install it correctly and look at the correct KPIs. There's an art to that, right?
Fair enough. Look, and I understand you've got to scale according to the customers that you can handle. My point is here, and we can move on. It is just that we have known that this is a particular pain point in the business now for several years, and I would have liked to have seen them at least get to neutral on that rather than still be behind. Now, speaking as a guy who's still behind on his projects multiple years after starting them at his own job, I'm not unsympathetic to the fact, but let's just say he has a lot more resources at his disposal to solve his problem than I do mine.
Sure. Yeah, I just if training people wasn't a thing, if recruiting people wasn't a thing, like these problems are hard problems to solve, and they definitely are recruiting people. Like they have a few different initiatives out there to try and recruit people. And at the very end of this interview, actually, they did mention that
Well, they've got the AIFDs too. And that was one of the things that Bella was talking about on his All In thing, was basically building virtual employees.
Okay. Is that different than agents?
Kind of the one takeaway is they're having this concept where you don't do one person's worth of work. You now manage multiple virtual employees. Every employee manages multiple virtual employees.
So is that different than agents? Or is that kind of hair splitting?
Yeah, it's a bit of hair splitting, and that's, CEO talk and blah, blah, whatever. But yeah, I was gonna highlight that Raven Terp, you hit exactly on what was next on the docket.
Sure did. You want to lead us off?
Nope, I do not care about any of these companies.
So ServiceNow, I've looked at them. Their numbers are really strong. Still not quite sure what they do. IT infrastructure.
Actually had to use them. Sure. I actually had to use them. I got like a message and it said ServiceNow. It's like, oh, that's what they do. So I had a problem, or I'm trying to get some software installed on my company laptop. And, like whenever you're requesting a kind of a non-standard license, it has to go through a approval process, like 2 layers high. And so I was having problems with the approval process. Chevron just had unnamed oil organization just had a big change around, and people are all in new roles. And my second approval just kept getting timed out after like 3 weeks. And so my boss would approve it. But then it would just kind of go into the nether, and it wasn't being, denied. It was just timing out. So I went in and made a ticket, and all of these messages, all the automated Teams messages, and all of the workflow on that back end of, getting my ticket, my IT ticket basically processed, were all ServiceNow tagged items.
So it's just like tickets?
Yeah. Ticket management or incident management.
Is that not like the thin software layer that Carp describes?
Huh?
Is that not like the thin software layer that Carp describes?
Sounds like it.
It seems like definition of thin. I don't know. Maybe I don't understand the business. Their numbers crush it. When I listened to a few of their calls, the CEO seems very confident. I just don't think I understand the product. Salesforce. I know Steve likes this one. Obviously, the value is there, like especially if you look at their cash flow. I can't do it. I just can't do it.
Yep.
The reason I can't do it, there's a few reasons. First reason is the revenue growth. It's too slow. It's not even double digits, and they don't have, the market is forward looking. So while you could look at the revenue, the first derivative here, and say, yeah, the revenue is still growing. If you look at the second derivative, not quite as good. And quite frankly, I just don't see what their next act is. And the reason I actually feel really confident in saying that is A, Benioff was late to the party. B, Benioff went around selling everybody in San Francisco Agent Force, telling everyone how he had this like awesome AI product and how we were going to have Agent Force and we were going to have all these agentic workers doing everything. And then like just a few months after having his big Agent Force brouhaha, he went out and acquired not one but 2 AI related companies. So what, like,
oh my God, he's the guy from the Valley pitching Nebius that he doesn't actually have working. Have you watched that show on HBO?
I haven't, no.
The Valley. Oh, you have to watch it.
Okay.
It's a Mike Judge Office Space guy, but it's like all based around like tech, VC, craziness, kind of a comedy.
Okay.
But yeah, so there's this guy who's like, and so it's all around this little company's figured out this like compression algorithm or whatever, right? Not to get too into the specifics, but they're up against this giant Google type guy who just goes around buying up all the companies and everything, but can't actually make it.
Yeah, M&A can be useful if you're doing like a platformization strategy like Palo Alto Networks is, or if you're just doing like a consolidation roll up to scale nationwide.
Yeah.
So that would be like your franchisees. That would be your Comfort Systems USA, who just does a lot of M&A. But when you sell a product, like in January, and then in March you acquire a company for the product that you already sold back in January, oh boy.
That tells me you didn't really have the product.
You never had the product. And if you do business that way, I think people see through that because they know that you're selling them a bunch of bullshit. And
well, we know that to begin with.
Dare I say steak dinner?
I mean, Karp was taking shots at him on the way out. Like that was what that last comment that we heard him say was directed at.
Yeah, and
we don't need salespeople.
And we've seen Mark get like really, really defensive over like the multiple that his company gets, and it's like, dude, the reason that your company doesn't get a multiple is because you guys don't have a growth story here at all. You guys don't have a product. Like you're just clinging onto the install base that you already have. And for those not familiar, like Salesforce has a really, really tough contract to get out of. Same thing with Adobe, which we'll pivot to here in a second. But if you are trying to migrate off of Salesforce, my understanding is that that process is like breaking up with a girl who is going to like throw all your shit in the front yard, call the cops, light a picture of your mom on fire. Like it's going to be a whole thing, and it's not going to be fun.
And then say she was pregnant.
Yeah. She'll scare the shit out of you at the end. Yeah, it's not good. I don't like companies that do business that way, especially when they don't add that much value. And I use their product at work myself. Pretty mid. So that's where I'm at on Salesforce.
Any AI-driven customer or any AI-driven sales software that requires actual salespeople to sell it tells me it fundamentally doesn't work.
Well, you need some amount of sales, but salespeople should not be a third of your organization.
Yeah, that's what I mean. So it's not like they have a Palantir-sized Salesforce. They have a Salesforce-sized Salesforce. And that is not the model going forward. Now, he's taken some risks on the inside of his company. I don't know if you've heard about this thing before. It's like they have a new rule where you can't hire someone unless you have to actually prove that AI can't do the job that you're that you would like to hire for.
Yeah, there's been a few companies that have done that. Yeah,
and then they also have a new rule where you have to try to do whatever you're trying to do. You have to try to do it with AI first, even if it takes longer, even if it's less efficient. You have to like document that you tried to do it with AI first. And that's risky, and that obviously sounds bad, like on a quarter-to-quarter basis. But can that pay off over the course of a 5-year cycle? Maybe.
On one hand, you can justify it as almost like research and development, like you're seeing if it works and you're seeing if you can find a use case. But on the other hand, you could argue that like it could just be dead weight because normal productivity you're kind of throwing out the window in hopes that you're going to find a shortcut. I can see it both ways.
Yep. So I give him a little credit for taking some risk there. That's all I'm saying. I give him some credit for.
He
for
wasn't the
taking-
first company to do that, though. They've done that at Shopify. Klarna did that. There's been a few companies that have done it. I think maybe even, no, not Spotify. There was another platform company that took that approach too.
But yeah, I generally don't have much use for CRM. I mean, if they totally cease to exist, it would not affect my life one way or another.
Next one up, Adobe.
If Adobe ceased to exist, my life would be even better. It would actively improve.
So again, you've got another company that feels like a value trap. Now, out of these three companies, Adobe is probably the one that I would go for, but I'm not touching any of these three. Adobe also has some pretty toxic X type contracts in terms of like getting out and canceling. They also have a lot of competition now around the edges that are taking significant market share. You've got Canva, and you also have Figma. They tried to buy Figma and ended up getting blocked. Figma is now public on their own. But Adobe is going to have a hard time selling seats. So how they sell their product is by seat count. And if you have the same amount of workers being able to do a lot more productivity in terms of what they're generating and how much they can create, that means that seats are not going to be added. Additionally, Adobe is the premier enterprise level product at the moment. If Figma or Klarna, or sorry, not Klarna, if Figma and Canva can continue to build their product suite, you could have an up and coming force that actually challenges that. And yeah, I know Adobe has like all the institutional knowledge with their PDFs. That's great. Guys, it can't be that hard to convert a bunch of PDFs and get that data over to a different company. Like if you're trying to transfer from one to the other. And I know Adobe has a well built out tool set. I'm not disparaging the tools. They have lots of great
I'll
tools.
Disparage the tools.
You can disparage away. Go for it.
I mean, it's basically, oh, you want to open a PDF and put a comment on it? Hold on a minute while I think.
Maybe not those tools, but like the Photoshop and the video editing tools, those feel comprehensive and thorough, right? I just don't know if they add seats. And they've been growing at 10% for a few quarters in a row now. And I know they're cheap. Again, like Amit says this all the time. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to figure out that these companies are cheap. It's just, what do they do from here? I know Adobe
Sometimes
has
they're cheap because they suck.
Sometimes. Now, I know they have Firefly in the works, and they're working with Alphabet with VO3. Firefly is their Gen AI product. It's growing rather quickly, but again, I think the core business is what the concern is.
All of these companies are not going to end up with AIs. Like, they're called like Gen AI. Well, look, guess what? When the Gen AI exists, it's going to be the Google or the Amazon or, the heavy, true, pure AI play that owns it, and everyone else will use it, and it will do whatever your Gen AI product or Gen AI like product that you were trying to sell does. I mean, in a world of nano banana, how much longer does Adobe have?
So one of the things that I looked at when I was, because I did do a decent amount of research on Adobe because it is so cheap. I wanted to know if an opportunity was there. Obviously, I've decided against it because they're not going to grow seats. But when it comes to final edit, brands are really, really protective of their image. And the Gen AI tools, they're not perfect yet. Like, there's still going to be some touch up. You might want to switch this hat for a different hat to be more on brand, or maybe the logo is not quite perfect. There's still going to be plenty of touch up to be done and creative control that people are going to want to have. The the era where you're able to punch in a prompt and it spits out a perfect no edit needed product for like a commercial that you'd use on Instagram or TV, that I don't think that's coming anytime soon, even though it is getting better and better. People are still going to want to have that final human edit to make sure that they have the ability to make exactly what it is that they need to make before sending it out the door. The same thing can be said for really any sort of creative type thing. Like if someone's making a movie or a YouTube video and they just want to have that final edit rather than, just a raw Gen AI.
You sure about that? Have you seen the videos coming up on YouTube?
Well, there was a Google announcement today. So YouTube Shorts is now going to allow creators to use Gen AI in their own likeness. So you'll be able to use like a Gen AI version of yourself in YouTube Shorts. I thought that was kind of interesting. We'll see where that heads. But I think YouTube is also at the same time going to be pretty careful about making sure that their platform doesn't become AI slop, because then you're just going to run users off the platform.
I mean, there's already a lot of AI slop on YouTube.
Maybe in your algorithm.
The science, like the science documentary / like lecture that has almost completely transitioned into 100% AI slop.
Mm. I think they'll figure it out, though.
2 years ago, there was like 1 or 2 of them. Now it's all of it is. It's all AI slop.
Well, obviously, a lot more of it's being created nowadays, but.
And AI slop can be made so much quicker than real stuff.
It sure can, and much cheaper. Speaking of AI, TSM, we didn't talk about it last time, but TSM crushed earnings.
Yep.
20% growth, trailing 12 months, 31% growth. EPS up 40% year over year. 48% profit margin off of 54% operating margin. 54% operating margin for a hardware manufacturer.
That's insane.
35% free cash flow. That's margin, again, not growth, but their free cash flow has grown from, well, it's basically about doubled in the last 18 months, which doubled again from the previous 18 months.
And this is not, I dare say this is not cyclical in the way we're used to it being cyclical. And we know that because what they're using it for is so expensive, and those costs are, the input costs are not coming down. So anything that makes them more efficient is going to continue to grow.
And it's not an unreasonably priced company either. I know it's hardware, so paying 12 price to sales for hardware conventionally, but chips and ontology, that's where the value is going to lead, is chips and ontology. They have a really deep moat here. This is one that I'm going to be doing some more research on, because I know there's only one company in the world that can do. I know Intel's on a rocket ship right now, but I truly do think that Taiwan Semiconductor is the only company that can do what they do. More to come.
Yep.
What do you think about Micron and SanDisk? And I mean, these companies are just absolutely ripping. We are now 21 days into the year, and SanDisk has already doubled, and Micron is up, I think, about 40% year to date. Thoughts?
Well, yeah. It turns out token factories are going to need a lot more hardware than the PC industry needed and the cloud server industry needed, and by orders of magnitude. So it might be in a cycle, but it's not coming to an end anytime soon. When it comes to those companies, I'm more worried that their ability to fulfill orders will be what trips them up rather than demand, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
So if they make a dog of a product, or if they just cannot fulfill enough of the demand that they lose market share to some other company that comes along to stand up fulfillment, that's how they lose. That's how they could end up losing. But if the number of competitors stays basically the same, and they maintain relatively equal market share, they're just going to continue to crush.
Well, the obvious black swan is like a brigade, or what do you call it? Bunch of boats stop in Taiwan. A blockade. Thank you. Blockade of Taiwan is really what would be a black swan for Taiwan semiconductor. But other than that, they appear to be in very good shape.
Yeah. Well, I mean, TSM is not going to be the only one that tanks that day. The entire AI trade is going down with it. Okay.
Exactly.
We got news for you. Like, NVIDIA is going down maybe more than TSM will.
Now they did ask the TSM CEO about, what are you seeing from your customers in terms of demand, because they're spending about $30 billion in CapEx. So, of course they asked the question, and he said, I've been talking to all my customers thoroughly, and I've investigated it myself, because and I'm paraphrasing here, but how stupid would I be to spend $30 billion without knowing that, I'm actually going to have the demand there on the other side of the rainbow.
Yeah.
He basically gave a very confident answer of, like, I'm spending these $30 billion because I know it's going to end up being needed for the supply that's going to be needed because of the demand that's on the way. So I found that really interesting.
Yeah.
That right after a really strong print, that he's doubling down on what they're seeing out of their customers, and the train rolls on.
The train rolls on. Here's where we start to feel like, in my sense, that there are some cracks here and there, or that it's just not as rosy. And you know how we say in the chat, like, someone always knows.
Sure.
There's not a lot of insiders buying.
Well, because they already have the skin in the game. We're not seeing mass
very
insider
well
selling.
If they're expecting 10x, they'd be buying.
Well, I mean, look, if
And we
you
don't
already have,
and we don't see it anywhere really.
If you already have 80% of your net worth in the company that you work for, like, it's kind of hard to justify buying more.
Oh yeah, sure, but these are not all like founder-led, Palantirs now, where they're just breaking out of their garage stage. Not to say that Palantir necessarily, but you know what I mean, colloquially, right? It's recently new to the stage, the world stage, right? But like, these other major companies. I mean, it's not like you hear Satya Nadella saying it's not like we're seeing him doing a bunch of insider buying, right?
Well, because again, he's already concentrated in company stock. Like, he already has enough riding on it.
Well, if they thought it was going to be that much better, they'd be buying.
Guess that's fair. I don't think that you see that in general from executives who get paid primarily in stock. that they're going to buy even more unless you're Anthony Noto at $4.50.
Well, buying and selling are not this. They do not tell you two sides of the same coin, right? The selling can be done. I mean, you hear Mitt say this a lot too. People can sell for a bunch of reasons, but they only buy for one.
Exactly. Yeah, that's a Peter Lynch.
The Peter Lynch. Okay, I heard it from a Mitt. All right. So I'm seeing like nobody buying.
But you're also not seeing people selling. I don't see any crack in the thesis. I mean, LLM progress has slowed down slightly,
I'm
but
just worried that I don't see that. Does that make sense? It's just like
I wouldn't be. Look, if you're invested in like FICO, Visa, MasterCard, Home Depot, or Lowe's, or Hilton, like if you told me that you are selling your Home Depot stock because the CEO, Ken Langone, or I don't even think he's the CEO anymore. Anyways, if the CEO of Home Depot is not buying shares, like I'm not going to wake up tomorrow and be like, oh, I guess he doesn't believe in Home Depot. You know what I mean?
For sure. So I guess what I'm saying is I'm not seeing it as broadly as they're talking a big. Here's what I would say. They're talking a massive game, but I don't feel like they're putting their money where their mouth is, and that's about all I have to say about that. And so I'm watching closely to see who's putting their money where their mouth is. I mean, we just had a great interview with Karp, and that man is famous for running his mouth. And it gets me fired up. I love it. But he's not buying either.
No, but again, so like the reason he's not buying, and it would never make sense for him to buy, is he's got plenty.
And I understand that.
Here's a fun question. I'll have to think about this one here for a second. If we had to pick one YouTuber to run our portfolio for the next 10 years, so I'm assuming we would get to tell the supposed YouTuber like what our portfolio objectives are, or is the spirit of the challenge that our money would just be stashed with their investing style? Probably the second one, right?
Yeah, because otherwise, then who cares who's doing it? It's people we know, and based on how we know they do their analysis.
Okay. Lots of good options. For sure, lots of good options. Here, put it in the private chat. I'm going to put who I think is mine. That's my leading candidate, unless I can think of anyone else. Just to make sure I'm thorough about it.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
We have the same.
So we're converging. I feel like I need to like do proper due diligence here and like look through my subscription list here.
I mean, I didn't have
another good one. I would sleep like a baby if
qualified YouTuber. I mean, I've done live streams.
Would that actually be your second choice?
I would definitely. I mean, so it's like, how much of my money am I giving to this person to manage? If I'm getting all of it, no.
I think that would be the spirit of the challenge, is all of it.
That's the spirit of the challenge? Like, who do you trust for your finances forever? Okay, well, that's probably not the case there.
To manage your portfolio. Yeah, so that's all of it. So you are checked out for the next 10 years.
For the next 10 years.
The whole bag. So I'm going to give an honorable
If
mention
you'd asked me this
to
question 2 years ago, then the answer I just put in the chat is a definite yes.
okay.
But we may be like we're gonna have a downtrend
It's a
at
different
some
point in time. Yeah.
right? So
Okay, so I'm going to give 3 honorable mentions before Dougie and I reveal who we both agreed on right away as our first pick. So I would sleep like a baby with Joseph Carlson. And I know he's got some hits and misses, but like the guy, other than Duolingo, doesn't generally lose money. And he generally outperforms the market in very high quality companies. So I'd have a good time with Joseph. Tanner, future investing. I think he's a very sharp guy and he studies the market full time. He is in the game. Before we get to, the third one I was going to mention and give a shout out to Neil, Couch Investor. I respect a lot of what he does and he thinks through problems in a very first principles way. And he's very considerate of the value that he's getting and the future story that each one of his investments makes. And you can tell that he puts good thought into it. Did you want to share your other name there?
well, I mean, the real other name I have is Arnie.
Arnie. Dude, I would not sleep like a baby. Arnie would make me more money, but I would not sleep like a baby.
I don't know if Cochin counts, but man, that would be a good play too. We just don't see them very much, especially not anymore without Palantir.
Oh, dude, Arnie's living life. I haven't seen much from him lately. He made his money and disappeared. He found financial freedom and sailed off into the sunset. Good for Arnie.
Yep, living the dream. So then my half honorable mention is the queen herself, Quantesla. I do not know a better player against volatility. And the ability to develop conviction and then keep hammering it so that it grows over time. But then the one we both just jumped on. I mean, I was instant. Like as soon as I saw the question, I knew what the answer was. I didn't even have to think about it.
Matt fucking money. Yeah, Matt has such a good balance of like finding good entries and not chasing, but at the same time, when a stock starts to run, he's very good at holding his winners and knowing what the catalyst is. So a good example is like Palantir started to run and he said, the stock, it's not $1 trillion company. Like, why would I sell? And he's been able to realize all of those gains along the way. I sold a decent chunk at 60 and at 80 and at 110 because oh my gosh, the stock's getting ahead of itself. But Matt had the decades-long foresight to be like, it's going to grow into it. And he was cool as a cucumber. Same thing with Rocket Lab, right?
Yep.
4, 20, 45, 65, $80. Matt, when are you going to sell? $90, 100, doesn't give a shit. He's like, okay, this, it's $50 billion. Why would I sell now? It's going to be $200 billion later.
Yep.
So shout out to Matt Money, man.
Shout out to the Matt Money.
Did not get paid. No paid endorsements here.
No, there were no paid endorsements. Our boy Amit would not be a bad choice. But
Yeah,
still,
I would trust him to
still a
do the job
little,
for sure.
still a little on the green side, honestly, to me, like to just manage all my money. The value sniffer, the truffle pig, his network now too is getting very large, where he has a little bit of information alpha as well. So you can probably do well there. You know, like people are bringing him their best ideas now. You know what I mean?
And I think on top of that, not just having that alpha brought to him and doing the show full time, 50 hours a week or whatever it is, but even despite some of like the green that you mentioned, I mean, look at how that played out in 23, 24, even 25. Like, even if he was a little bit green, he was right about the main things so much that it didn't end up mattering because he crushed the things that were important. So even some of like the smaller details didn't end up mattering just because he was right where it counted. The other one here, TJ, I would definitely trust TJ to manage my money. I would have TJ manage my parents' portfolio. I'm down with TJ.
I gave some consideration to TJ, but I just don't like selling calls as a. I said he's a lot more sophisticated option trader now than he was when he was getting started on YouTube. So awesome to see a guy like expand his skill set too, right? Just Matt's the guy.
Matt is that guy. The White House quant.
That's my quant.
Now, non-YouTubers, my friend, I won't say his name, my friend in real life who is retired already at 32 years old, he has a wife as a doctor. He loaded up on SoFi at 7, loaded up on AMD at 80, loaded up on Micron at like 100, Bloom Energy at 25. I don't think, maybe Arnie, maybe Amit. Other than those two, like, I don't know anyone who would even come close to this guy in terms of what those 5 names have done for him. Maybe RJC. Are you familiar with him at all? RJC
No.
Capital. He uses a lot of leverage, but he's been on like T1 Energy, Fluence, EOSE, Fix. That's how him and I actually connected, was through Fix.
Through Fix? Cool.
Yeah. He's a corporate lawyer in his late 20s in New York. He turned $50,000 into $2 million. So not bad at all.
So he can afford an apartment then.
Exactly. Yeah. And he was asking people if he wanted to, if he should retire as a corporate lawyer. And everyone's like, dude, you live in New York City. What are you talking about? That's his name there, though. This is his handle, RJC Capital. I think we made it through our docket here. We're coming up on
we did
11:30 your time.
Yep.
You had TA written here. What's TA?
Technical analysis.
For Bitcoin?
I always have that. Like if we need a filler, I can always start pulling up tickers and charting.
I think it was pretty comprehensive.
Yeah, I think we did a good job. Hey, you know what we should do sometime is combine fundamental and TA.
Okay.
And like pair, do the TA, but then also pull out a little more of the fundamental analysis.
You know what would be a good company for that?
Google.
SoFi.
No, just kidding.
SoFi would actually be a good company for that. We could even do a SoFi deep dive if we wanted to.
We could, But then we would have to look at SoFi.
It's
And
an
that's one
interesting
of the
chart right
benefits
now.
of having sold all of my spreads, is I no longer have to look at SoFi.
What do you want to? I know we talked about Amazon a little bit today, but we didn't look at the chart at all.
I mean, we can. I don't love Amazon specifically on the chart because I feel like it has that kind of it has the big monster, selling monster, so it may do non-technical things from time to time that just don't make any sense. That's why like cryptos are really good for technical analysis, because like the big cryptos are good for it because there's no manipulation there, right? Or there's no like one person owns crap ton of shares and they can just move it around however they want.
Look at this! Look at this earnings gap up plus the OpenAI announcement, and since then it's. I mean, we haven't made any progress since then, which to me that seems a little crazy. No.
All right, I haven't looked at this chart in a long time, so we get to see. Hey, these were Dougie's predictions. How did they play out?
I mean, we're basically not basically we're exactly where we were in February before all of the Liberation Day tariff stuff. We haven't even moved. And Anthropic's made so much progress. AWS is still printing money. You have the online store still going berserk. You've got the logistics network building out. I don't know. It's kind of hard to say that the company doesn't deserve any progress, but we can, if you want to look at some charts, we can take a stab at Amazon, or we can come up with something different.
I've got it up right now, and I'm just looking back at my history.
But yeah, we can figure that out offline. We are going on 2.5 hours, so we are going to get out of here. Thanks everybody for joining us on your Wednesday night. This is Money Mobsters, episode 8. Hope you guys have a great week. We have X links below: Doug's X, my X, Doug's YouTube channel, and then the Street Exchange, showing all the different creators in the community, what times the shows are, et cetera, et cetera. Bye, everybody.
All right. Bye, y'all.